Casino workers at Reddit, what is the saddest thing you have witnessed that is gambling related? A friend of mine used to work at the daycare in a casino. A daycare. They served them meals and had snack they could buy. There was one kid she just made a name tag for in advance because he was there so much. All day. I worked in the restaurant of a casino. We had a mother and daughter who were regulars but not there every day. Maybe once or twice a week they'd come in and spend at least 8 hours on the slot machines. One time they hit it big. They won the jackpot, which if memory serves was about a cute 15k. They looked so happy and they were crying tears of joy. I was happy for them. They were really nice people. Instead of going home and enjoying their winnings, they stuck around feeding more money into the machine. They came back every day for the next week. Within that week the cute 15k was gone. After another week they were both banned for asking other guests for money to borrow so they could play. Like 15 years ago, my husband was a bar porter at a casino. He would bus his cart around for everyone in the middle of the night and get off in the morning. He says when he would come back the next evening, some of the people playing the slots would still be there from the previous night. They would wear diapers, they didn't have to leave their machine. I've worked in casinos for over a decade and the saddest thing I routinely see is young children standing around waiting on their parents to finish gambling. We track down the parents and make them leave, but they always come back. Former casino security here. We routinely patrolled the parking lots looking for children in cars waiting on their parents. And would more often than not find them. We'd call the police department, who would then get social services involved. Calling the police due to a child locked in a hot car is a daily occurrence. Old people shitting on the floor so they don't have to go far from their slot machine. Old people dying at their machines. A grown man in a full-on toddler tantrum, laying on ground flailing legs arms, because he got cut off by the bar. Obvious prostitutes arguing that they are legitimate patrons. I was dealing blackjack one day. Only one guy at my table. Looked to be about 45-50. We had been playing for a while. And the poor guy couldn't win to save his life. He was playing right. Splitting 8s and aces. Staying on 17s. The whole nine. One hand I have an ace up. And open insurance. He looks at me. His nose a little red and his eyes wet. "Are you alright, sir?" Double quote. He broke down crying. The poor dude had just lost his wife to his gambling addiction earlier that day. She couldn't take it anymore. I tried to console him. "We have a program at my casino that will limit your gambling to help your addiction." He cheered up. And later visited to thank me. Saying he got his wife back and turned his life around. This thread has got so many depressing stories. And it's all because of the mindset people have when gambling. My dad taught me that when you go to a casino, you shouldn't be thinking about making money. You are there for entertainment. And that entertainment costs money. If you're lucky and wise, you can walk away slightly ahead or maybe just break even. But most times expect to walk out having paid money for the time in there. Not a terrible philosophy, When I turned 19, my dad took me to Ontario to go to a casino with my stepmother. I remember my dad and I are walking the floor and we stop at the roulette table to see a guy with what was easily $5,000 on the table. A woman is standing next to him openly praying with tears streaming down her face as he is gambling this big chunk of cash. Dealer spins and they lose. All the color drains from his face and I was confident he just ruined his life. Next morning we are packing up to leave and notice rescue boats and fire trucks at the falls. Someone mentioned that some guy threw himself over the falls. I always hoped it was never the guy from the casino and he straightened everything out. One time I cashed a guy out for 3k worth of chips. He looked like he was trying not to cry and just said to me, "I lost it. I lost everything." I was sympathetic and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." When he left, I pulled up his account to see how much he had lost. It was just his third visit. On his first visit he lost 67k. The second one 50k. And on the last visit, when I cashed him out for 3k, he had lost 440k. He self-excluded himself from the casino for I think 6 months after that and was caught at least twice that I know at trying to come back into gamble. I never worked at a casino. But I lived in Vegas where they have slot machines inside the convenience stores. I went into a Circle K at about 10 AM before going into work. I saw a woman going hard at the slot machine with 3 kids running around in her orbit. I went back to the same Circle K after my shift, about 8 hours later. She was there, going at the same slot machine. The kids were asleep in the seats next to her. I can't say she was there the whole time, but it was pretty sad nonetheless. Watching a woman begging for change outside so she could get the bus home. She does this on the first or second day of every month. Former casino employee. I saw a man come in on his 50th birthday with his kids. They ate at the buffet and then sat down at a machine. The man put a 100 in the machine. Spun twice. But a 50k jackpot and had a heart attack and died. We tried to resuscitate but it didn't work. Not a worker but a guy walked up beside me while playing and told me to put one of my chips on a number on roulette. It came up and then he asked me for some of the money. I politely declined. He then went on saying he has no money but loves to gamble, so he comes to the casino and gives advice for tips or looks for dropped chips on the floor. I used to work in a casino as an EMT. But this is about a friend of mine. He gambled away all his money, sold all his stuff and was forced to go live back at his parents'. His parents had to take a short-term loan to get him home. He gambled all that money away too. His parents got another loan but now they are getting evicted from their house. He still claims that it was 7/11's fault, where he worked at, for not paying him enough, forcing him to gamble to make ends meet. He also claims that his parents need him to live with them because he takes care of them. Well, recently in the Philippines, there was a man addicted to gambling and had gambled so much his wife left him with his children and he had some bad debts with the wrong people, so he tried to settle it. He went into Manila's biggest casino and started setting the game tables on fire and tried to grab over 1 million pesos worth of chips. I know it's stupid. Roughly about $20,000. After realizing he was caught and no way out, he went into one of the hotel rooms and set himself on fire, taking multiple people with him due to smoke inhalation. It's just sad really. He was so addicted to gambling. His friends and family say that he actually won big games, $10,000 games / 500,000 pesos games, but he was never content. Edit. I work in the hotel department of a casino. One of our regular guests is this Indian guy and his wife who come to play the slots every week. One night the wife had to use the bathroom, but didn't want to give up her machine. She couldn't find anyone to keep watch of it for her. So she shit her pants in the casino and just kept playing. Melbourne Casino. 2003. My girlfriend and I were walking through the casino in the early hours of the morning and there was a strange looking guy moving oddly about 15 meters in front of us. We both kind of slowed up because his movement seemed so strange. Then it happened. He kind of huddled over and put his arms in a position like he was imitating a chicken very quickly. Then he shook his right leg and turd dropped out from the bottom of his pants and onto the casino floor. We both stopped in absolute disbelief. He just made a quick right turn and sat at a pokies slot machine and continued playing. To me the saddest thing is seeing a relative wheel up an elderly person in a wheelchair or slowly walk up with them in a walker and just get them situated on a machine, then leave for hours on end without checking back with them. They go and do their own gambling or whatever it is they do. We've had to find their companion ourselves or get security to find them when they need to use the restroom or if we think they should go eat. Most of the time the other person is upset they were called to deal with it. Sad. I worked VIP reception at the hotel of a large casino. I've seen people win and lose. I've seen people come to check in for one night only to extend their stay for a week because they're chasing their money. I checked a man into his suite for the weekend only to find him back at my desk a half hour later checking out because he had already lost $50. 000. I've had wives frantically calling because husbands have cleared out their accounts and disappeared. I listened to a woman sob on the phone that her husband had taken their kids' college savings. Stories of people defaulting on their homes trying to turn their luck around. Casinos are cities of vices and sometimes you see the lowest a person can get. Gambling addiction is very hard to watch. Not casino worker but worked one summer at a bar where people could bet on horses run. I have seen a struggling father of 5 win $6,000 in one race. And lose it all within the next few hours. The kids, preteen to mid-teens, with him. The older ones tried to stop him but failed. The tears of his daughter didn't seem to move him. It has been 10 years. The guy is still gambling but his kids don't speak to him. I worked for a casino in Mississippi. A man from Illinois called and said he did a voluntary lifetime ban from all casinos in Vegas, but wanted to know if he could drive to Mississippi and gamble at the casinos here. I spoke with my supervisors and they said he could gamble in Mississippi. I went against my supervisors and told the guy that he was not allowed in any casino. I would have felt terrible about helping him relapse. A dude wearing diapers. A woman spending more than 24H at the same machine. Spending $17K when the maximum win for that machine was $6K. The list is endless. Here is one particular event that stuck with me. An elderly woman who was completely disoriented after having a grand mal seizure was resisting the EMTs who were attempting to render her medical assistance. She began to get up and then she noticed one of the machines light up and flash. She made an audible groaning sound and awkwardly ran towards it. An EMT put a chair behind her and sat her down. They continued their work while she mashed all the buttons. Completely disoriented. Gambling addiction is real. It is deeply rooted in your brain. Even when she bit off a section of her tongue and was barely breathing, she still wanted to smash every button on all the slot machines surrounding her. Countless children sitting on the edges of the gaming floor waiting for their terrible parents whom have been arrested for child endangerment as a result. A gentleman who grabbed a slot machine with both hands and very forcefully hit his own head on the large curved screen of a machine after he lost $100. It just goes on and on. Edit. This thread has made me realize that I beat casinos hands down every single time I don't go in one. Not a casino worker but there is a cafe with slots right in front of my dorm. One night, some guy, who was forbidden to go there, went and lost a good chunk of cash. The bartender called security. They took him out of there and didn't harm him. A cop also came for some reason. And the guy was waiting for a cop car to pick him up. Whilst screaming that he lost this much money and that the security guys were assholes. He eventually left with the cop car. Later he came back. He still didn't do anything bad but this time security was way rougher. I think they kicked him and he fell. I didn't see this happening, but I overheard him crying and I have heart problems. Please stop hitting me. Seriously. Don't drink and play the slots. Tea is bad. I'm not a casino worker. Neither is my father. But my dad used to have a hobby on Friday nights. He would get a beer and a pack of cigarettes and sit outside a casino and people watch. He would stay a few hours so he would see people go in, paycheck in hand, only to leave hours later with nothing. He overheard a lot of phone calls where people would call their spouses in tears, saying that they had lost everything. Even once, he said he overheard a dude call his wife sobbing, saying he had lost their house. He almost never saw someone walk out happy. Not casino worker but played in the Detroit casinos while in school nearby in early zeros. Would routinely see auto factory workers still in their factory gear betting their daily weekly pay at the blackjack tables right after second shift. Saw one guy in oily overalls just stack up a single long pile of red chips on one hand and lose. So depressing. My mom works in a casino in the Cage, where you take your vouchers or chips to be converted to cash. She said one day, a customer came up with a bunch of chips worth about $25. 000. My mom said, "Hey, looks like you did pretty well tonight," to which he responded, "I guess, but I'm still $32,000 in the hole for the year." Obligatory. I'm not a casino worker. Went to Vegas 3 summers ago. It was my first time. At about 1 AM, my friends and I were walking through the casino at the Wynn when we happened on a blackjack table with a $10,000 minimum bet. There was one guy at the table, alone with the dealer. He was drinking and had the deadest eyes I've ever seen. He played hand after hand after hand after hand, with barely the littlest interest. As $10,000 chips left his pile. At one point while we were watching, a woman walked up to him. Wife? Girlfriend? Hard to tell. I too would bounce away gleefully in this situation. Not a casino worker, but I witnessed something sad that I can share. I was watching a blackjack table. A man with a decent amount of chips on the table asked the dealer to hold his seat while he got up to use the restroom, and the dealer agreed. Shortly after leaving, a well-dressed woman sat in his seat and said she was the man's wife and would play for him. The dealer basically told her that he was sorry, but the man said nothing about having a wife and could not allow her to use the man's chips. She sat there nervously for a hand and then got up and left. Upon the man's return, the dealer mentioned his wife had tried to play with his chips on his behalf, and the man looked confused and said, "I don't have a wife." Currently working at a casino as a slot technician. This just happened a couple of months ago. Some younger guy, early 20s, came up to this casino town for the weekend. A bunch of my dealer friends had interacted with him during the couple of days he was here. Apparently in 2 days he lost around $13,000 at multiple casinos. Afterwards he walked to the parking garage and jumped. I lived in Las Vegas for about 10 years and worked for cultural attractions in the city, but the saddest stuff I saw was people hitting the slot machines inside grocery stores and gas stations, gambling away their food or daily essentials money with kids roaming around them. So glad I switched coasts. Removed. We had this guy who had just won a couple thousand on slots. He was super excited and said he would be back to collect after he smoked a cigarette. I was clocking off at the time but overheard one of the techs say he better smoke too, reason being if you owe the government money for something like child support for example, they can't take all your winnings. Which is exactly what happened. I got out of there before he came back inside. The place I work at isn't a full-blown casino, but it does earn about 90% of its revenue from the gambling aspects of it. I however work in the restaurant inside the building. I see the same people there every day. Like, do they not have jobs? Or families? Some are old enough to possibly be retired. Others are probably on disability pension. But others just look too young and healthy to warrant being either. They eat in the restaurant anywhere between 1 to 3 times a day. Doesn't matter what day or time my shift is on. I'm bound to see at least some of them. If we didn't close for a measly 3 hours a day for cash counting and the cleaning crew, I doubt some of them would even leave. I've also heard stories of actual casinos having regulars who wear adult diapers so they don't have to leave their machine to go to the bathroom. I'm not a casino worker, but my dad gambled away $25,000. I wasn't born yet, but that money was supposed to be for my parents' wedding and honeymoon. Well, he lost it all and the wedding was called off obviously. My parents lived together but they never married. Addition to the story. My mom did propose to my dad one Christmas when I was old enough to remember, but he declined. I think he knew that everyone at the makeup wedding would make comments like, "I guess they finally scrambled all that money back" or something. Didn't need that. My dad was a bookie and I used to work for him at weekends. One day, we went to pick up a regular gambler who was coming with us to the racetrack. We knocked on his door and he opened it. He looked really sharp in a light grey suit. I could see into the house behind him and it was disgusting. It looked like some filthy druggy house. There were 2 little kids playing on the floor looking like they hadn't been washed in weeks.